Hey there, this is Chris from PE 551, and this is a video response for my class, my graduate course at APU, Week 2, Common Core and Physical Education. And so for this, we are to talk about emerging trends in education and specifically the Common Core and how we're implementing that into PE. And so we were given two websites, the Spark webpage and the eSchool News webpage. On the Spark web page, I thought was really interesting. I was encouraged to see how Common Core can be integrated into PE. I thought the layout was really practical and straightforward. Maybe they designed it with someone in mind who was looking at Common Core for the first time and how it might implement into PE. And so I thought it was really helpful, and I thought immediately the things that I saw, I was like, oh, I could do that, I could do that, I could use that. To me, it was turning over a new leaf to some degree, even though since I started my program, the Common Core's already been there. I don't know anything else besides Common Core, really, because Common Core had already been introduced by the time I started my graduate and credential program. But when I saw it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Now that makes a little bit more sense to me. On the reading in the station cards, I really like the idea of using reading, and I've seen some other teachers do that, where at the stations, instead of just telling them what to do, you have a station card. Or I've even thought of games that I've kind of created for lesson planning purposes, like where this game would have basically like envelopes, and you go and open the envelope and have to read it and be able to do something. So it's incorporating reading. And you can do the same thing with writing, like writing scores, having the kids go from station to station, writing scores down. Doing math, you have to, between you and a partner, have to do 100 push-ups, then who did what and how many, and writing those down. So there's some basic math that you could put into those things. Those are some ideas that I got from looking at it, and I felt like the way they had it laid out with 4 to 5 different bullet points of different ideas, I thought it was helpful, and I personally really liked it. And it said the other part of the question prompt is alternately why none of it seemed valuable to me. And so first of all, I didn't really like the question, because I feel like from a novice teacher perspective, it's like, what didn't I like about it? I'm like, who am I to criticize? You can't just have a set of practices, kind of like a philosophical approach to differentiation. In the same way, like with PE, you can't just implement Common Core with a set of practices. It's not just like a book of practices and say, this is what I do. But maybe it's more of a philosophy of incorporating reading, writing, and math into PE, and trying to do that on a more regular basis by meeting standards and incorporating standards. So if anything, maybe that's what I could take away. Say I didn't really like this because from that aspect, some people might take this wrong, like, oh, all I got to do is these 3 things or these 6 bullet points and I've done it. Okay, the second bullet point is how could you adapt your coaching or lesson plans to incorporate all components of the 4 C's? It kind of went back to that applications that I saw on the Spark website, just thinking through ideas of incorporating reading, writing, and math through station work, more things that are along the lines of races, like ultimate races, or like The Amazing Race, like the TV show, where you have something where they go to a station, they're collaborating with a partner or a group of people. What we see even in today's escape rooms and stuff like that, where people get to go and there's physical fitness challenges that they have to overcome, and they're going to have to use critical thinking in order to overcome it, because we can word the problems in such a way that say, well, I can do more of this and you could do more of that. So they're just splitting up and use analyzation and critical thinking and problem solving. They're able to use those things when they're working in a collaborative environment, that they're relying on one another. They have to communicate with each other. They have to incorporate different areas of Common Core in order to accomplish the task. Another way to increase collaboration and communication, even in a simple lesson, like if you're doing something more simple like weightlifting, you have a weightlifting class, putting people again in pairs or small groups and giving them goals and giving them charts that they have to fill out with journals. This would increase communication. As far as the creativity is concerned, problem-solving situation, students can be creative in how they solve their problems. If you have something more straightforward like weightlifting, the creativity aspect could come in. You can give them a challenge to write a program. So they would write programming for the next 4 weeks, in order to meet a certain goal. And so they come up with a goal, you help them define, like, here's the goal, here's the why. Now, let's say, what's our roadmap look like? And ask them to start delineating the steps and how they're going to get there and what their programming is going to look like by asking them questions about how that's going to help and things like that. So I think that this type of thinking can really help us in PE. I think there's definitely application for both of these websites. Okay, so I'm excited to hear your post on how you guys are going to implement Common Core into physical education and how you thought these 4 C's were applicable. But thanks for your time listening to my post.